Alright, so this is going to be a very short video. I'm actually going to be jumping around to a few different questions, but it's basically just practice using all the three different methods that we have for solving quadratic equations. Now remember, when we want to solve a quadratic, there are three ways to do it. We can either factor it, we can use a quadratic formula, or we can do it by completing the square. And remember, the quadratic formula is written like this: negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, one thing that I want to point out is that no matter which method you use, a lot of the beginning steps are the same, where you just move all the terms to one side, and you have to always make sure that it's equal to 0. Now, there are other rules that you're going to have to remember about each one, but that's kind of the main gist, is you're going to end up starting with this at the same spot. Now, in the next few questions, I'm probably not going to show as much work, mainly just to save space, but you should be able to know some of the process. In fact, the main reason why I actually want to continue these videos is just so that you have a few more practice of watching me and hearing me do it. So make sure that you pay attention if you are still having trouble with this. All right, so this is the first question in the guided practice. So pause the video, work itself, and we'll go over in a second. All right, so if I want to use the quadratic, first I need to rewrite this in its standard form. I'm going to move the 6x over to the other side, and it's going to end up being x squared plus 6x minus 1 equals 0. Now the quadratic formula is negative b, so negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Cleaning this up, this becomes negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus, or actually plus, sorry, plus 4, because we have 4 times 1 times negative 1. So that gives me a plus 4, all divided by 2. So this is going to simplify to 6 halves plus or minus radical 40 halves. The main way that I'm going to be able to simplify this is by rewriting this. So negative 6 over 2 is actually negative 3. And then plus or minus square root of 40 can be rewritten as square root of 4 times 10 over 2. 4 is a perfect square. So this is just negative 3 plus or minus 2 rad 10, which ends up being negative 3 plus or minus rad 10. Now, if I wanted to complete the square, I'd move the 1 over, so I'd have x squared plus 6x equals 1. I take half of this middle term, which will be 3, and I'm going to square it and add it to both sides. 3 squared is a 9, so that's going to be 9. On the left-hand side, this simplifies to x plus 3 squared. And this just simplifies to 10. Take the square root of both sides. I get x plus 3 plus or minus rad 10. And then I subtract the 3 over. And I'm getting the same thing. 3 minus rad 10 and 3 plus rad 10. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Now I'm jumping over to independent question number 3 because this is going to have all the other parts. All right. So pause video, work itself, and we'll go over in a second. All right. So we're going to do the same thing. Subtract the 6 over. Subtract the x over. My new quadratic will end up being x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. All right, so the quadratic formula, I might end up skipping some steps, so bear with me. Just trying to find my mouse, there it is. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. When I do the math here, this just becomes positive 6. This, when you plug this into the square into the calculator, you end up getting 100. 100 is a perfect square, so the square root of 100 is 10, and it's going to be divided by 2. So I do 6 plus 10 divided by 2. That gets me 16 divided by 2, or 8. And then I could do 6 minus 10, which gets me negative 4 over 2, which is equal to negative 2. So my solution set should be negative 2, 8. All right, for completing the square, remember we're going to, since it's already in standard form, I don't have to worry about it, and my leading term is 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 16 over. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x equals 16. Take half of the 6, which is 3, square it, and add it to both sides. Remember, 3 squared is just a 9, so I'm actually going to write 9 in instead. This simplifies as x minus 3 squared. Remember, whatever the middle term is, that's the same sign that goes in here. Whenever you're doing the completing the square. 16 plus 9, when you do this, you get 25. So you take the square root of both terms. You get x minus 3 equals plus or minus, 25 is a perfect square. Square root of 25 is 5. You're going to add the 3 over. So you end up getting x 3 plus or minus 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So this gets me the same answer. All right, for factoring, I kind of already know which numbers are going to be it, but let's just pretend. I want to factor this. Because the leading term is a 1, I can use the AM method. So find two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to negative 6. So the bigger number is going to be negative. So 1 and negative 16 don't work. 2 and negative 8, they work. So that's going to be my two numbers. So this will end up factoring as x plus 2 times x minus 8 equals to 0. Now remember, when we use the factoring, we're going to set both terms equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, which when you solve this gets you x equals negative 2. And then x minus 8 equals 0, which again, when you add the 8 over, you get x equals 8. So again, factoring method gets us the same answer. So we know for a fact that the answers are negative 2 and 8. Sometimes it's actually good to, if you use one of these methods, sometimes trying out with another method, see if that works. Or like I said, always take these numbers and plug them in here real quick and see if you get the same thing. So what I would do is I would plug in a negative 2 on the left hand side, plug a negative 2 on the right hand side, and see if they equal. Same thing with the 8. Do that, and that's always a good check. All right, so this exit question is a little different. If you actually look in your notes, it's the story time part. There's a story about a kid playing football wanting to need help on his homework. Basically, what I want you to try and do is write out the steps to completing the square in your own words. So write out all the steps. Throw your answer into the pause video. Now I'm going to have you guys work on the rest of the questions. I think there's 2 more questions, and there's a much more involved exit question. I couldn't really do it in this type of media, so make sure that you answer that and submit that in the assignment that gets provided. For those who won't be in class, we'll do it, if you won't be virtual, we'll try doing it in class. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you later, and good luck.